hook lying bridge. What we are going to do here is use a heels elevated or feet elevated hook lying position and work in a little bit of bridge work for the glutes and hamstrings. You're going to want to put your feet on top of two yoga blocks or two books that are exactly the same height. We don't want to have one foot higher than the other. I suggest putting your books or blocks up against a wall just so that they're not moving at all. Now from here, we want to make sure that we are at a comfortable position for our knees and hips. They don't have to be right at 90 degrees, but we don't want to be super scrunched in or super spread out. Now from here, what we're going to do is think about gently pulling our heels towards us. I don't want to let my feet come up. I still have that nice tripod foot, but I'm just going to pull those heels towards my butt to get a little bit of hamstrings turned on. Now, once I have my hamstrings turned on, I want to check in and make sure I haven't tensed up my hip flexors. So you can feel if you tense up your hip flexors, this little meaty part right here where your leg meets your hip, they will literally pop out up into your hand. So we want to make sure that when you get those hamstrings on, that it's just hamstrings and that you haven't used your hip flexors to try and push yourself up. Now from here, we want to get a little gentle posterior tilt of the pelvis. So think about rolling those hip bones up to your ribs. Now we're going to get an exhale, let the ribs come down, deep core on. Now that we got all of those pieces together, what we're going to do is bridge our hips up. You still have hamstrings on, you still have deep core on. What we want to think about is that the sacrum's going to come off the ground, and then the low back, and then the mid back, and then the upper back. So we kind of curl everything up. I'm not going to change the position of my pelvis the entire time I'm pushing up, and I'm still thinking about gently pulling those heels towards my glutes to make sure that I have my hamstrings firing the whole time that I'm lifting my pelvis up. I'm really aiming to feel those hamstrings in this proximal attachment right here. It's okay if you feel it more in the medial attachment, but if you only feel it behind your knees, then you need to start over. And then as I come down, I'm going to think about upper back, mid back, lower back, and I want to keep that posterior pelvic tilt. So what I'm not going to do on the way down is let everything go and then have my tailbone meet the ground before the rest of my back. I need to do it in a stepwise fashion where the upper back comes down, mid back, lower back, and then my PSIS, so those posterior parts of your pelvis, they're the last thing to meet the ground, and I'm still keeping that tension in my hamstring the whole entire time. Then I'm going to bridge up again, making sure I've got the hamstrings on, and I'm just gently facilitating that connection of the glutes, creating my hip, getting to full extension without losing that posterior tilt, and come back down. That's how you do it.